Hi Space Cats, I'm Dr. Maggie Lou. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's already been a couple of weeks since we saw not just the launch of Virgin Galactic's Spaceship Two VSS Unity, but also Blue Origin's New Shepard. Both missions carried billionaires, namely Sir Richard Branson and Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, into space. So in this video, let's discuss and compare these new space tourism ventures. The ship VSS Unity is a Spaceship Two, the second one to be precise. Recall that the first one, VSS Enterprise, led to the death of the pilot on board, and subsequently Virgin Galactic have been developing their spaceplane program since 2004. That's 17 years. And yes, it is a spaceplane. It takes off and lands horizontally on a runway just like any commercial plane. But unlike your usual plane, the VSS Unity has two components. Spaceship Two is sandwiched between twin motherships that carry it up to an altitude of about 15 kilometers before it being released and then relying on its rocket boosters to blast it and its 8 passengers up to the upper atmosphere. New Shepard, on the other hand, is a more traditional rocket in that it launches and lands vertically. Named after the first American in space, Alan Shepard, again, New Shepard has two components. A first stage booster that carries all the propellant, which when all used up, it will detach from the crew capsule. As the name suggests, the crew capsule is a pressurized module that carries the 6 crew and the largest windows ever to be flown to space into the upper atmosphere. Now, unlike Spaceship Two, New Shepard is fully autonomous. So whilst the former requires 2 pilots, the crew of the latter are all passengers. Both vehicles are reusable, however, unlike the Soyuz spacecraft that we currently rely on to take astronauts to space. This is good because we aren't spending $500 million on a spacecraft that will only fly once, and this is ultimately what will keep the price down too. This means that it's better for the environment, and before you say how much pollution is created, you should check out my video on climate change and space travel, where you'll see that space travel has minimal impact. In fact, New Shepard's booster runs on a liquid hydrogen-oxygen propellant, so it doesn't actually produce any CO2 at all, only water. Now, there's some people out there that are questioning the credibility of these space trips, and rightly so. Are they really taking you into space? I mean, it's a lot of money if it's not, right? But we'll get into the financial part of that later. Back to altitude, Spaceship Two, after being released by the twin mothership White Knight 2, goes on to reach almost 90 kilometers in altitude. Now here is where things get a little bit tricky. The definition of where space begins is quite vague. According to the US government, 80 kilometers above sea level is space, and those that travel beyond this line are recognized as astronauts. Whilst at this altitude, you are high enough to see the darkness of space surrounding the curvature of our Earth, and also high enough to feel weightlessness, the internationally recognized space boundary actually lies 20 kilometers higher than this, at 100 kilometers above sea level. In which case, Spaceship Two would not have technically have reached space, whereas New Shepard had comfortably exceeded this boundary. It's really interesting though, since Virgin Galactic's earlier Spaceship One model and Spaceship Two's predecessor flew beyond this boundary. Nevertheless, if you want to get even more technical, both of these boundaries actually still lie within Earth's atmosphere. The uppermost region of our atmosphere is known as the exosphere, and the edge of that is about 190,000 kilometers in altitude. And if we went for that definition, then the International Space Station, living at about 400 kilometers in altitude, technically wouldn't be a space station at all. Now, even though this video is about space tourism, the prices of these flights aren't for your average tourist, or at least not yet. Virgin Galactic are again taking bookings, but at $450,000 per seat for a 4 to 5 minutes of weightlessness, it's hardly the best way to burn your hard-earned cash. The first seat on Blue Origin's mission, however, went for $28 million at auction, again for a very similar experience. This really seems insane to me, since NASA are now offering commercial missions to the ISS for as little as $10 million. What's more, if you're just there for the weightlessness, you could grab a zero-G flight for as little as $5,000. So these are the planes that go up high, up in the atmosphere, and then drop down at the same rate as gravity to make you feel weightlessness. But despite all of this, it's not just about a new experience for the mega rich. In the long term, with more demand, private companies like Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin will be able to drive down the cost of space transport, just like how commercial flight costs have been driven down over the years. This not only means that it will be cheaper in the near future for you and me to go into space, but also cheaper for scientists who rely on microgravity conditions for vaccine research, material synthesis, and medical research, to name a few. I guess the only downside is that it will remove the marvel from the career of astronaut. Soon everyone will be doing it. Thank you so much for watching this week's video. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on the matter. Are you for or against space tourism? And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave me a like, share, and subscribe.